So today we're going to make a simple fish tank background. So I have cardboard. I've chosen to use an old box that we just had laying around, as long as it's about the right shape for your size fish tank. Mine's about A4 page for me, depending how big you want to make it really. Then I have some PVA glue, some fish tank rocks. I have some blue ones here, and they're not washed. You don't have to wash them. You can clean them if you like, but probably best to wash, dry them, and then put them in a handy towel overnight, let them dry, and they'll be all clean. Doesn't matter if the paint's coming off because you're going to colour over it later, basically. You're going to put paint over it. Then I have a paintbrush, a pen, so I can do whatever pattern I want on my paper, well, cardboard, so that it will be nice and straight. Make sure you use a ruler, use a craft knife, cut any cutting tool you want to make sure it's straight. Mine, I have purposely made it so it's not going to be straight at this top edge. This top edge is going to be wavy. I also have some crayons. I am choosing to use pink, red, and purple. Simple. You could use paint if you liked. If you want to paint it, you can paint it. You could even leave it just plain, whatever sort of cardboard you're using. You could leave it blank if you like. I'm choosing to use a nice bright colours so that when it is up against the tank, it isn't going to look like it's just cardboard with all these lines and things, due to it was a box. Just a plain cereal or IK shape box, whatever you want to use. So simple and easy. First things first, cut it up, cut the box or the paper or whatever you're using to the size of your tank. So for me, I only want mine to fit along the back of the tank. That is it. I don't want it on the sides. I don't want any of the shiny stuff coming through, or any of the indented pictures of the box to come through. So when you're covering it, you want to make sure you use nice big rocks if possible, and depending what type of rocks you're using, try to use the bigger ones to cover it, because then that's going to make it easier on you. So for me, I have decided I want to do it a little bit wavy, a little bit up and down, and I'm also going to use some multicolored greens and oranges and maybe some yellows in it, just to change up the sizing of the rocks. It doesn't matter. You can go to the Dollar Tree, go to a junk shop, get your rocks. Easy. So for me, I have done a simple curved wavy-ish line. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just a rough sketch. It really doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't matter because you are going to cover it with rocks. So you can sort of see on here, I have done like a little wavy line along my top edge. As this is going to be the edge, I'm not going to fuss too much if it's not perfect, because that's the edge going to be at the top. This bit here at the bottom, you're going to have to make sure it is flat. No matter what, you need that to be flat again, especially when it's put against the tank. You don't want it to fall off the tank or create a loud bang once it's dried. Now this is going to take 24 hours to dry. You could use something more like hot glue if you really want it to dry a lot faster and a lot quicker. All I have on hand at the moment is PVA, quick, easy, simple to use. Now, what I've done, I've put the lines on, I've traced it out, I've made sure it's all lined up to be perfect for my tank. I don't want anything to fall off. Now, you can color it as you go along. What I plan to do is use a crayon quickly and easily just run it along. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't matter. So you can see there I've done a little bit of crayon, quick and easy, just over spots where you really want it to be. You don't have to use crayon. You could use paint, you could use house paint, you could use anything you wished to make this perfect. Now, for me, I'm not overly fussed, and as my room has a lot of pink in it, this is going to be perfect. So, quickly, easily, you don't have to rush it. Take your time, let it sit overnight, slowly build up whatever textures you want on here. So, you can do it as textured, as coloured, and as matte as you like. Doesn't matter. Nobody's is going to be the same. Everybody's is going to be different no matter what. Now, I use this as an idea from, I couldn't find any backgrounds I liked. I looked online, used a lot of Pinterest ideas, and put them together to come up with this one idea, which has actually turned out to look really good in the end. Doesn't matter what way you do the crayon or your paint, as long as it's on there and as long as it looks good. If you're happy with it, then fine. It's not going to be a big, oh, but that isn't going to look right, or each person's designs will be different, and as you can see, I'm using different colors and shades of pinks due to I want it to be like that. I don't want just the plain boring one color. Now, if you really wanted to, you could paint over the cardboard that I'm using is obviously quite a grey colour, so you could paint over it if you wanted to put a white acrylic paint over it first, or you could use anything really, any white paint you liked to go on it. You don't have to. Now, the other thing I need to mention, if you're using a box, try to get this bit off here. It's one of the little tab bits, and that bit you don't really want to show on your tank. So if up to you, you can sit there and peel it off as much as you can, but then it is going to leave a bit of glue. So for me, I'm going to leave it on there, but I am actually going to cut it off. Take that bit off because it's going to be annoying, it's extra weight and not what you're wanting on your tank. So I've almost finished colouring half of mine, and it's going to simply be, silly crayons keep cracking. It's just a simple design, a simple layout. I'm basically using a mosaic method without all the nasty glass tiles or sharp objects involved. Now for me, I am just colouring over that line I made earlier, as I want it to still be there, but I don't want it to show through. So use a pencil, or in my case I've just used a pen. Couldn't find any pencils, so a pen will do, or even use the colour crayon or paint or something, just to do that quick little line. It doesn't have to be a perfect wave. It can be anything you want. You could even do star shapes or heart shapes all over your whole entire thing if you liked. You can do whatever you like. I am choosing to do a quick and easy, simple star shape line. I'm also making sure that I do colour right to the bottom here and right to the top. As you can see, the lighter pink, I have quickly shaded it over. I haven't fussed around with it. I haven't sat there and got hours and hours, where this darker pink is a lot darker colour, so it's just looking more vibrant. Now I might actually end up going ahead and just colouring the whole thing this colour, or just do 2 sections of it just to make it look a little different on the tank when it's stuck to the tank. Now how I'm going to secure this to the tank, I am actually going to put a bit of tape on the back of the box and secure it that way to the tank, because this side we want up against the tank and this side we want facing the wall or wherever. If you want, you could do both sides depending on what you wanted. If you want to do both sides, it doesn't matter. See, crayons break. They're a little frustrating, to be honest, but that's fine. Doesn't matter. If it breaks, what you could do is stick it in the microwave and melt it down. Melt your crayon and then sort of put it on like a paint. Ideally, just use simple crayon to colour it in, roughly colour it in. You don't have to be really one way with it. It's stick it on and be done with it sort of thing. And then kind of try to blend the two colours together a little. It doesn't really have to be blended. I like it to be, but it's fine. I'm sort of just running more crayon over it. The darker the better, because then you can't see this underneath stuff. And then I'm going to use a purple. As you can see on this side, I have gone over a little bit more with the pink. That's fine. Now I'm going to shade in some purple. Now this purple is quite light, so it is going to work quite nicely with this. Ideally, having such a solid color on this side, you do want to try blend it through a little bit. So if you can blend it, go ahead. You don't have to. I'm just adding a little more colour, a bit more texture, a little less hassle. Keep going with your colours as far as you want to go, depending how big your tank is on how much you want. So that's how far I've gone so far, and now I'm going to leave some of this on this side blank, basically. Leave it alone. Leave it in case you can only do half of it, depending how many rocks you have on how much you're going to be able to cover in the first few minutes. Simple. My best way of putting this is an idea used from Pinterest, mixed from looking on Google and other people's fish tanks, and sort of looking online quite a lot and trying to find something that I might like, but then it's also going to have to look perfect as well. You don't want it to look cheaply done, basically. You can do this on the cheap if you like, it doesn't matter, as long as it looks fabulous. Just finishing up. The crayon is probably going to be the most annoying thing to use, because you do see with the ones I have, I don't know about the rest of you, I do get bits coming off my crayon that are kind of annoying, but that's fine, easy cleanup, simple. Now you can, if you want to really save your workspace, is put down some plastic, so a drop cloth or something you don't mind getting dirty, basically. It makes sure you're not wearing your best clothes. Obviously, I don't want you all getting grubby clothing. If you're using paint, make sure you have a well ventilated area for it. You definitely don't want to be dealing with paint fumes. Just finishing up the last bit. Right, so I'm now finished colouring my whole background. I have gone different ways, but that's fine, doesn't matter. Just make sure if you have lines in your cardboard that you make sure that are covered enough so they're not going to show through. Okay, so next step is bang off, if you're using crayon, any of those annoying little shaving bits, and then sort of wipe down your area you've been using, because you don't want any of that stuff getting on anything. Wash your hands as well. Go wash your hands, dry up, make sure you've got clean dry hands before moving on to this next step. Now, I've got PVA glue. Just shake the bottle up, open the lid, and I'm just going to simply and very quite quickly work through this, so I'm not getting lots of spots that are all glowy and messy. So we're going to slowly pour on a good amount of glue into one spot. Then you're just going to get your paintbrush. You're going to slightly smooth out the PVA. Now the whole idea of using PVA for me is it's a clear drying glue. You could actually also seal it with Mod Podge afterwards if you would like. You don't have to. Personally, I'm not going to, because it's not going to be a full-on tank. So I have sitting here, I also have I have a handy towel full of black and white rocks. So these rocks I have left in here overnight. As you can probably tell, it is quite damp from the rocks and quite wet still. So that's okay, that's fine, that's what you want. Now, just randomly picking up your rocks, letting the glue sit a little bit does help. Now what you could do is just sprinkle these rocks totally over it, cover the whole thing in glue, just pour the rocks on, or you could neatly just place the rocks slowly, one by one, into place. What I'm going to do is I am actually just going to put them on like glitter, basically. Stick it on and leave it on. It doesn't matter. These are you can go back through slowly, moving each little rock if you need to as well. So by filling in all the little gaps with each rock, just so that looks something like this. If you can hear banging in the background, I'm sorry, that is the cat wanting to get some attention. Now, To move the rocks around, if you are having issues, use the back of the paintbrush, might be easier, or you could use the brush or the bristles, whichever you want, but do try to work quickly as this glue is going to set, and you don't want the glue to set and then you're going to have to pour a whole heap of more glue over the same spot because you haven't worked with it. So do it section by section, try to work quickly. You can, if you're using bigger rocks, you can glue them individually on. But I like to make it easier because it's just a lot faster than having to tweak and play around with lots of little spots. You don't like where it's placed, pick it up, move it, doesn't matter. So it's using the same method of, so if the glue's slightly tacky, it's most likely going to be a lot easier to work with as well. Some of your rocks obviously are going to be a lot bigger than others. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You can even go down to the beach or outside and use gravel or something like that if you really want an expensive. Now with me, I've got some white ones mixed in. I don't want those. I am trying to just pick out the darker rocks. So now it's sort of coming together of what we wanted to look like. Try your best to get this put on before the glue starts to set. If the glue sets too much, you are going to come into the issue that they're not going to stay. That's alright. You just tweak it to how you want. Slowly putting these. So I'm not doing this in any order at the moment. This looks like a whale. Didn't mean it to, but apparently it looks like a whale. That's fine. That's alright. Now, if you do get into issues, dunk your paintbrush in some glue, lob it onto the spot you want to work with, sprinkle, or slowly place your rocks on to where you want. Easy. Done. Then once they're down, you're going to put, as you can see, some more glue over the top. You're actually going to use the glue as you would use the glue like filler. Basically, it's going to give them a shine. It's also going to help if any of these rocks, as you can see, there is one right now that is pulled up and it's not sticking nicely for me. So I am just going to rub some more glue, or even if you want to, you don't have to, but you could actually get the whole glue pot, pour a whole heap over it, leave it to dry. Now this is a really easy activity that you could actually get the little ones to help with, but do be careful with the glue. I don't want to hear that your little ones have ended up swallowing the glue or anything, so please ask permission if you're under 10 to ask permission before you go ahead with this activity, as it does use glue and it does use paint at times as well. Now for me, I am actually going to end up painting over these rocks. You don't have to, but I find it's going to give it that little bit better look. So as you can see, I have gone along, put a whole heap of glue on top, and now I'm just going to sort of brush some of these stones around, just so some of these get into these little spots where other rocks aren't in place already. You could actually use a ruler, it might be even faster to spread these all out. Now careful if you're using an area that maybe your parents or loved ones don't want you to get glue on, do leave a little edge just so that you don't get glue everywhere. You don't want to be trying to chisel PVA glue off everything later on. So I've just done the quicker method of it, just shove the stones on, stick, pour the glue on and stick stones over it. Is the quickest way of doing this, and honestly you're gonna get the same effect no matter what you do it. More glue the better, I say, to be honest, just because you do want it to sit nicely. Also if you want to make it so that it's got more texture in it, you could actually build up the stone, slowly build up the stone. So I've done about half so far, and I am just going to let this half dry a bit and then go slowly through with what I want it to look like. It doesn't have to be identically glued. Now, another way you could do this is how I'm going to demonstrate on the other side. So this side is pretty much how I want it to be. It's fine. What you could do is this way is lay all your rocks down, basically shake your rocks onto it, lay them out how you want them to look. I'm going through the side, and then essentially get the glue and pour it on top. You don't need it to be that perfect. For me, I want this to be quite strong. You can use bigger rocks as well. Bigger rocks will give you that better effect. So what I've got here, glue laid down, sprinkle on some rocks so they sit into the glue. Basically, you want them to sit in the glue as much as possible. Now you can at this stage also put in some sort of glitter if you like. If you want it to be glittery, go ahead, add glitter. Ideally I don't want much sparkle, but do what you feel you can do. Basically I'm just going to mix these rocks into the glue. Pretty essentially mixing rocks into glue, shoving them onto the cardboard. This is going to create another effect to this. I'm also wanting to sort of build up. So some areas, as you can see, have got quite a lot of rocks, where other areas haven't got a lot of rocks. And essentially I want those to have a large amount so that it builds up and looks that little bit more heavier rocks. Now you're slowly sticking rocks on. You don't need to be too fussy. Stick the rocks on, paint them, smother them, and glue is your best option here. You want this to hold. You don't want this to fall apart. So covering in rocks, simple. And ideally, you're nearly done. You can add glitter. You could put confetti in it if you like confetti. You could use confetti. You could use whatever you have lying around. Even cheap and expensive backing board. If you really, if it's to go outside, use a heavy amount of, if it's to go outside, I would use something that is wooden. I wouldn't use cardboard for outside, as using cardboard will disintegrate, and you don't want it to be disintegrating on you. All I've done, covered it in rocks. Just trying to grab the rest of my rocks without the paper attached, because some of these rocks were still wet when I started this, which is fine. That's alright. Wet rocks doesn't matter, it's easy because the glue is not going to hold, but it is just going to essentially be a little hard. So do try to, what I did to start with was dried the rocks. My way of drying these really quickly grab the hairdryer, stick them in a bucket, dry them that way. So essentially, we're done. Try not to drop any rocks. You drop them, they're going to be quite hard to pick up, being these are so little. That's okay. Things happen. Rocks are rocks. So I have basically done all my rocks now. They're all nicely laid out how I want them to look. Now, as you can see, the side is covered in glue because that's how I wanted it. Maybe this side hasn't got as much glue yet because I haven't actually stuck a full head down. Now, I have tried so that this edge bit here is also covered. You don't want that to be covered too much because it is going to make it a lot harder. So I'm just brushing around with my stones a little bit just to move some around so that it does, everything gets covered. That's why we coloured it first, so that it is all done. That looks reasonably to where I want it to be. I don't want it to be too overly scattered, and I also don't want it to be too overly messy. So that's fine. So we have filled in all of where I wanted it to be covered in these dark rocks I'm using. You can use any coloured rock you like, any texture, any sort of size as well, the rock you like. You don't have to use this size. Now some of these are, once it's dried, going to fall off. That is fine, that's what you want to happen. Once it's dried, you want to be able to shake off any loose rocks. You don't want them all to stick to each other too much, depending on the look you're after, on if you want the rocks to stick to each other or not. Now, as you can see, I have a couple of spaces at the bottom. That's fine. You want that look to be simple and easy. Now, the next step is, because for me, I have left a bit of an edge on this side, and it's not going to be a perfect edge. None of this is going to be perfect. It's just to look nice. Now, I have done this side so that it has a gap along the edge, just so that when I do attach it, it is not going to be too hard. And same with the other side as well. I've left some space. I've left a little bit of space at the bottom bit, and I have left about an inch of space at the top here because I am actually going to use my bigger rocks. I'm going to use some yellow ones. Or you could actually shove in. For me, I'm just doing this by eyeball and not going by how it is going to finish being, because I'm actually going to paint these rocks afterwards. Once this is all dried and hardened, I am going to paint this. You can leave it as is if you really like, but for me, I want to paint it as well. So it doesn't matter on my side type of rocks I'm using, because I am going to paint it. Now for the last edging bit, I'm using these bright yellow rocks, which, to be honest, they're fine. They're yellow. If you like yellow, leave them yellow. I don't like yellow, so I am actually going to pick them through and put them just on the edge bits. I'm not going to use the green ones and the orange ones. I have another Halloween-y idea. So I'm just going to use a couple just to sort of wedge in this top bit just so it looks a little more detailed. Just a few scattered around through it are going to be this. I want a little change up along the way. I don't want it to be all perfect. Now pour some more glue over the top of the ones you've already put down. Now you want to use the glue like cement. So you're pretty much just gluing it in. It's similar to using grout, but with glue. Now you could really go the next mile if you like and slowly put these on using grout. You could use this method in any way you want. I am just simply going to use this to finish my tank design that I've done and to make my back of my tank look a little bit better than having a bit of cardboard there. Piece of cardboard or paper printed out looks okay, but then you also want it to look that little bit more. Oh, this is going to look cool more. And plus, later on in the year, I am going to put, I want it so that it looks more done up for Christmas and spring. I don't want it to be overly messy. Now this top edge, don't worry too much. We are going to go along and fix it. We're just putting some more rocks on just so it fills in those little gaps that you've got. There we go. Now we've just got one little edge here. I don't like it. I want it to all be evenly done with glue as well. I want plenty of glue. You don't want to skimp. You skimp on it, you're gonna find it's gonna fall apart. You're really not wanting that to happen. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go grab a hairdryer and use the hairdryer to dry this, to quickly get the best and quickest way of drying glue. So these yellow ones are going to look quite neat. They're different, they're another texture as well. They're just using them as my outline to my curviness. I don't want it to be too overly fast. Now, I will be back in a minute. Okay, so I'm back. I have my hairdryer plugged in next to me. That's going to help dry this a little bit faster. I also have some fine glitter and some little glittery, sprinkly sequins as well. What I'm going to do is put a tiny bit along this top edge just to give it a little bit of glitteriness. I don't want a lot, and I definitely don't want glitter to end up everywhere. So I'm just going to do a little sprinkle of glitter just to give it that little tiny bit of shine. I don't want it too shiny, and excuse the catnip. That little bit of glitteriness just to add some texture to it. Some new lights and sparkle and design to hold that. So I've sprinkled some plain glitter over and I'm going to use a little bit of this pretty sequined glitter that I absolutely use on everything. This would actually look really good in a snow globe as well. This glitter is awesome. It is just prettiness on a plate and stuff. I love glitter personally. What's life without glitter for me? It's my way of saying cheap, inexpensive glitter. You don't need to go buying the expensive stuff like I have. Cheap, any color, any style you want. Now, also what I'm going to do is I have some chunks of a couple of chunks of the crayons laying around, and I want to add there's a tiny chunk somewhere in this bag of crayons that I'm going to actually shave up, use a pencil sharpener, or essentially I want to make it drip onto it. So I have I have some white, which will look using crayons again. You don't need to have fancy tools. Simple crayon, hairdryer on high. Be careful with the hairdryer, especially when you're using a water. It'll go everywhere. So as you can see, it is very, very heavy. It is going to be very heavy no matter what, because you are using rocks. Once it dries out properly, then it won't be as much of a hassle. Now, what I've done is it has slightly dried some of the glue, but not all the glue, and it's just a lot less stickier. I did drip a little bit of white crayon over the top of some of the bits, just so that some of the rocks look a bit more white than what they are. So this is what it's going to look like once you're done. So if you like the video and would like more, thumbs up, subscribe. See you next video. Bye all.